looks like we have apples on our apple tree. Look at there. That's gonna be a good one. So we got a good little cluster here, there. There's a good little row of them here. Got some more coming up there. You can see the blooms. Those will more than likely turn into apples, and then we've got some apples here. And I don't know why, but people are just so amazed that we have apples here in Southeast Texas. There's some apples. Cluster of them here. And this is our Ein Shamar apple tree. You can see we've got clusters, and there's clusters like this all over that tree. So this might be the year that we finally get some apples. In years past, I haven't really done a whole lot of pruning, but this year I went and pruned the apple trees with much vigor and dedication, and it looks like it's paid off. I mean, on top of, you know, just surrounding it with wood chips and grass clippings and things of that nature, we might actually get some fruit out of it this year. I've actually even got some peaches. Now, last year we had a ton of peaches, but what the heck? Something going on with my cat. The cat got his foot stuck in his ear. Anyway, you should have seen that. It was awesome. Anyway, what was I saying? Peaches. Yeah, the last couple of years we got peaches on there, but they would get about the size of a golf ball, and then they would fall to the ground. So I don't know. I don't know if that means that it wasn't getting enough nutrients, and so it just let go of its fruit. One of the other things that we're doing is we're trying to grow seeds and things of that nature that we can give to the chickens that have good oils and good things in it that they'll benefit from. So inside this mimosa little growing area, you can see the rocks, I threw some giant white-seeded sunflower seeds, and they seem to all be coming up really well, and I've got them planted at other points in the yard too. So we'll probably keep a few heads of these and regrow them and then feed what we can to the chickens. So that's kind of a new thing that we're doing this year. One of my favorite things to do when I was a kid is to go berry picking with my family. We would get on our bikes and we would go down the road with our old metal coffee cans with hanger wire pails on it, and we would go pick berries. And whether those berries would be blackberries or wild muscadines growing along the fence line, we would come back with tons of berries, and Mom would make hot blackberry cobbler, and we would eat fresh blackberry cobbler with ice cream. And that's just such a great memory that I had when I was a kid. And so I tried to get my kids to go berry picking with me, and they hated it. They didn't like the mosquitoes, and they didn't like the stickers, and they didn't like all the, you know, basically they just didn't like it. And so rather than give up on my dream, I went and I got an old blackberry plant from my father that he had been growing on his property, and he had got from an older gentleman that he knew. And so I grow blackberries on my property now, so we don't have to traipse through the woods and the fence lines and all that. And I still get to pick blackberries, and the kids don't have to complain so much. So maybe one of these days when they're older, they'll go blackberry picking with me, or actually dewberry picking, which is a bit sweeter than a blackberry, and it comes out probably about 2 to 4 weeks earlier than the blackberries do. And they usually grow along the ground. So anyway, I'll show you my blackberries that I have growing in the front yard, and some that I have growing in the backyard. So this is the fence line. I've got a few just miscellaneous trees growing here, but when you start here, I've got some blackberries. And what I did is I put a T-post up, and I put some stainless wire all the way down. And so what that does is that holds my blackberry plants up. So you can see, I don't know if you can tell in the video, you can tell I've kind of built up the ground, because what we have is we have a runoff problem. And when it rains, this property over here used to drain across my yard. So what I did is I hauled in a bunch of dirt and made a berm. And then on top of this berm, I started planting plants, and you can see that I utilize the deep mulch method. And so I've got a blackberry plant here. This blackberry plant is only a year old, and you can see this thing is taking off. I'm gonna get some good blackberries out of it. And then I've got a grape plant. At this moment, I can't really tell you if it's a muscadine or if it's a grape, but it's a grape of one version or another. And then I've got another blackberry plant. You can see that we started working yesterday to haul in some wood chips, and underneath these wood chips I have cardboard, like from a cardboard box. What that does is that kind of helps smother the weeds. All these plants are only a year old. These blackberry plants are only a year old. And so you can see I've got another T-post here to kind of help support the wire. You can see the wire going across here. These plants back here are just something that's growing through the fence, through the little cracks in the fence and coming through. And then I've got another grape plant. Again, I think it's a muscadine because I really love muscadines. I think I planted a muscadine there, but I'm not really sure. Either way, it's a great plant. This one here, you can see this one's a blackberry plant. It's not doing as well because it doesn't get as much sun right here. But over the course of a couple years, it'll get big and it'll give me some berries. And then there's another blackberry plant right here, and you can tell it's not as big as the others. And these are the older ones. These have probably been here for probably 6 months to a year longer than the big ones down at the end. But the big ones down at the end, you can see they're already in the sunshine. So this is part of my blackberry plants. Let's go check out and see what I got in the backyard. This is the original blackberry patch that I have, and there's probably 4 or 5 blackberry plants in there, and it is a huge bramble. This one gives me the lion's share of my blackberries. And you can see I've got a T-post with some of that stainless wire that kind of supports all that, keeps it up off the ground, and if anything does touch the ground, I usually clip it off. Of course, I've got some logs down and got some wood chips in there, and every one of my blackberry plants came from a single blackberry plant. And if you know anything about blackberries, you know that once you plant one plant, within a year or two, you've got other plants that come up from the roots. And so I'm constantly pulling up and repotting new blackberry plants.